just have a few questions. This is a brand new neighbor, a multi-million dollar, owns more than 55 commercial properties across the United States and Canada, has more than enough money to do more than what is the minimum required. On the Commonwealth's website, mass.gov, salt storage best management practices include the right site, which is a flat site, adequate space for the salt piles, storage on a pad, which is impervious or a paved area, storage under a roof, which this is not, and runoff collection. This should be an inside operation. This should not be
So is there a question you want me to ask them?
Why isn't it under a roof? Why aren't they going above and beyond what is the minimum requirements and saying, you know what, as the new neighbors with more than enough money to raise a structure, put a roof over this?
Well, according to what we saw, they have everything but the roof.
I don't know what is paved. I don't know.
Everything's down as we stated earlier.
I don't know what their runoff and collection containment
They have a
is.
collection area, they have a runoff area, they have a covered top. The only thing they don't have is a roof, so.
And that water goes to a facility that was previously
It goes to a
for.
facility that's right in the middle there,
Is it?
and it can't go anywhere, it stays right there.
Does it have a desalinization process? Because I don't think it would, because the
It's
power
just-
plant's operation was
It's
cold.
just an evaporation pond is what it comes down to. It doesn't go anywhere, it's lined, was it lined? It was lined with rubber. It's actually lined, there's three big areas for that to go to. So, but you want to know why it's an under roof. Okay?
Couple other questions. The frequency of the dB readings that were recorded, how often were they recorded for sound, for the noise?
1 every 10 seconds.
Yeah, Timmy has every 10 seconds.
For how long?
17 minutes?
Aren't you supposed to collect those readings for 8 hours?
That's the way I was trained. I was trained, I'm not certified.
I'm not
I was trained
certified
by somebody
either.
who's DEP.
I'll find out how long they did it. I know they did it for a period of time, I just don't know the amount of time.
What were the spikes in those noise readings?
Can I ask you if you have a particular day or time in mind?
Highest one.
The highest one?
Yeah, 5 highest, or, a couple of the highest ones.
All right. You're gonna have to give me a minute to look through this. If you have another question, feel free, and I'll
Yeah,
look
not a
through this while you're
problem.
asking.
Would love to know who's playing for the police detail, who's going to be monitoring the truck traffic, and who's going to be reviewing these cameras and running the plates to ensure that CDC corrects their service provider. And the last thing I would like to say while you look at that, CDC and its affiliates, they hire these truck drivers, and not that I'm against truck drivers, not whatsoever, but when I go to the hairdresser and I tell them exactly what I want, color, cut, different things, and they go, well, it's easier to shave your head, and they shave my head, I don't go back. I don't continue to use that hairdresser. These folks should not continue to use truck drivers who do not follow their rules, and I would argue, based on the actions that I see from social media, they are not enforcing their own rules. They're saying, that's fine, don't worry about it. One other thing, just for the record,
Sure, good.
Industrial Demolition LLC,
Okay.
the subcontractor doing the demolition on the property, isn't it owned by CDC? It is. I'll tell you, it is. Same website. So when they blame their subcontractor for the demolition, they're blaming themselves.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
a couple of the spikes.
A couple of them. So my highest one was 65.3. Another higher one was 58.3. I didn't get it. 65.3 is the highest spike I got on any of the given days.
And what's considered acceptable?
Well, the DEP's policy is anything 10 decibels over your background noise. Whether or not that's considered excessive, that's, according to my conversation with DEP, that is going to be a call on our part. So let me just, for example, let's go right to the high one, which is 65.3. 65.3 on a typical sound level chart is between an ordinary conversation and a quiet automobile.
And I know you took them from your vehicle, correct?
And those spikes, just keep in mind, those spikes were not constant. Those spikes were like up and down in a matter of a second.
How often do those spikes happen, give or take?
Not often. Not often. Let me go to the one with the highest spike. So it spiked up a little bit on my afternoon visit to the beach on Ripley Street on October 24th, but I mean, I can tell you, even though these readings are consistent, there's definitely a little more wind. If it was so inconsistent, we went out there a couple of times where the wind gusts kept coming and going, that we just wrapped it up because it just wasn't going to give us any kind of accurate or as near accurate reading as we could get. So when I was out there, while the ship was loading, the spike was 65.3. It got as low as 54.2, but generally it stayed in the area between 59 and the high of 65.3.
And when you took the readings, in no disrespect, were you in a vehicle with the
No, I was
meter?
outside. I was outside. The decibel meter was on a tripod. It was not touched by human hands. It was calibrated at 94 decibels. Every time we used it, it has a timer on it, so it's easy enough to follow every 10 seconds. It sounds like you can do it every 10 seconds. Try doing it for 17 minutes. You don't want to miss anything, because if a spike comes, you want to capture it.
Of course.
Okay.
No. I know there was a photograph of an individual with the meter outside of a window,
That
kind
was
of
not
blocking
me.
a Jeep.
Yeah. I have a feeling whoever that was.
I have a feeling the appropriate way.
I have a feeling whoever that was, they were looking for spikes, just no background noise. They were just trying to see what was going to be the loudest noise, because on my the first night I went down there, I did the readings the way I was trained to do them, and I drove down, all the way down the road to the plant where they have that green tractor that's been sitting in the parking lot. On the corner, I set the tripod up outside my car. I sat in the car at that point. I was not looking for any measurements. I was just looking to see if I was going to have any greater spikes in sound. And at that point, the highest decibel I got was at 70.
You know, I would argue that.
But that was not a point of any complaint, and that was not, I tried to keep it on both sides of the beach,
Yeah.
just trying to encapsulate that whole neighborhood down there, if I could give you any kind of illustration as to what I was doing.
Yeah,
It was
no.
merely curiosity down there, what I was doing, just wanted to see what the loudest spike was, and that was already after 11 o'clock.
Right, which most folks would be in bed trying to sleep at that
I'm
point.
thinking they'd be in bed or getting to bed, but I wouldn't want any noise at that time of night. I wasn't gonna go at 9 o'clock because it's kind of hard. You can go to the Stop and Shop and there might be more noise there at 9, but it's
Right.
probably not gonna be the same noise at 11:30.
Okay. So,
It's sorry, I wasn't going down there at 3 a.m., but if I have to, I will.
hopefully, you won't have to. Hopefully, no more metal goes onto this property, and we won't have to talk about loading ships again with
But
metal.
if it does, that could certainly be a way to monitor it, on a regular basis. We do not have a decibel machine. I can easily borrow one, or we could just look into purchasing one and, on a decided basis, go down randomly and just see what's going on. Between shifts, if it comes to that, or even the demo. Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Okay.
There's a lot of other folks